Well, we're in Bowie, Texas, visiting with Jeff Tucker. And Jeff, you've been, I guess, the main speaker tonight at the meeting about wind farms, and you've provided a lot of information. What's your background, and how did you become so knowledgeable about wind farms?
Well, I became knowledgeable just by doing a lot of reading. My background is I'm a career firefighter in Fort Worth for my first profession, and after I retired in '01, I started doing some other businesses there, and then my wife and I moved away from Tarrant County out into Brown County, just trying to act like we're semi-retired and be a gentleman rancher. That's what I'm doing.
That's in the Brownwood area, or what part of the world is that?
Yeah, we're just north of Brownwood.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. All right. So you've got wind farms in your neighborhood, is that right? Or
they're close. I mean, in Comanche County is where they're at. The Logan's Gap farm is across our county line, not far from our property. We can see them from the top of our hill.
Yeah. Seems like, from what I gather, from what I could learn tonight, basically what you're saying to the folks, whether you're for or against them, you need to be educated about them. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. I don't really want to fall on one side or the other in the talk, although I tend to be a bit more probably anti-wind, to be honest.
Sure.
But yeah, we tell everybody, get educated, read, get online, and start going to reputable sources and reputable facts.
What do you see as, and you covered a lot of them, but the primary negative about the wind farms that counties and school districts might look at?
I think the biggest thing is this. I think the misnomer about them that's the most disingenuous is the amount of power they produce. I mean, first off, you've got to have wind blowing and going to do it. And so on the power grid, they produce roughly 2 to 3%. And they get 45% of tax subsidy to do that. And that's just from the federal tax credit. That's not from the local communities where they're trying to put the structures in. So that, to me, tells me it doesn't make fiscal sense. And so I try to look at it from the standpoint is it logical to put this kind of cost in infrastructure on something that doesn't really produce very much energy on the grid? And when you look at it across the scope of the United States, wind zones that are good wind zones like on the east and west coast, well, you probably will produce some real power out there, but again, it's going to be a small percentage on total grid. It's not going to replace oil and gas.
What advice do you have, whether you're for or against them, what advice do you have to local landowners when it comes to when you're approached about the wind energy?
If you're, let's just say you're for it. Let's say this is something you need and want to do as a revenue stream for your land, then you need to, before ever talking with a wind company, get with an attorney and get with a really good energy attorney that will protect all of your rights in this, and so that there's no hidden clauses that could damage your ownership, your privacy, the infrastructure itself. How will it impact the set-offs from residence areas? It's a lot to look at. Even for the attorney, it's a lot of work. So get somebody really, really good if you're for it.
So then, what role do the county governments, the school boards, even the city governments in some cases, what role do they actually have in whether or not a wind farm comes to your county?
Well, you're going to have an FAA site approval first off on ERCOT. That's the website ERCOT, and you can look in your area on that site and say, hey, this is an approved wind area, and they'll give approvals for where they think towers should be for that. Okay, so you're going to have that, and then what happens is when companies come in, they're going to talk to your county commissioners, they're going to talk to your county judges and your school boards because they want to garner any tax savings and tax abatements that they can. And they try to create a trade-off for that of what they consider incentives for it. So you want to make a hard look at that and see if that trade-off is really worth the value that they say it is.
All right, very good. Jeff, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Good talking with you.